How you guys doing? Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. We've got Steve and Tim here. They'll be playing tonight with Country Jukebox. That show starts at 7. But they're going to pick a little bit for you guys and talk about duo setting and arranging and how they work together. And if you got any other questions, especially if you were in the 1 o'clock one about life on the road or how they travel, their rigs that they brought with them, if you notice they're running DI, anything of that nature, feel free to ask. We're going to go till 3:30 on this one. So, but without, well, we got to wait to do the mandolinist opening act song, the tuning.
I'm ready to go.
All right.
My instrument was sharp when I got here, so it's easier to tune up than to tune down.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. So anyway, let's give a round of applause for Steve Smith and Tim May.
Thanks. Thanks, Brent, for having us here, too, by the way. Thanks.
We'd like to thank this side of the other. Oh. Something must have happened over here that we don't know about. It's lingering in the room. An easier escape route over here, maybe. Closest to the bathroom, maybe. I don't know. There's some reason for it. There's some reason why everybody's over here.
How y'all doing? Well, the bathroom's
Does
over
that sound
here.
good over there?
Yeah. All right, here's a tune that I learned from a recording made in 1942. In case you're doing one. Well, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long, long. Hey, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. There's another day, yes, took my woman and gone. Well, I got these blues in the wind at the soles of my shoes, Lord, Lord. Hey, I got these blues in the wind at the soles of my shoes. 'Cause my woman run off, and she left me with these blues. Well, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long, Lord, Lord. Hey, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. There's another bay, yes, took my woman and gone, take my woman home. Well, you don't miss your water till your well runs dry. Hey, you never miss your water till your well runs dry. You won't miss your woman till she says goodbye. Well, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long, Lord, Lord. Hey, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. There's another day, yes, took my woman and gone. Well, I wish to the Lord that to bring my woman back home, Lord, Lord. Hell, I wish to the Lord that to bring my woman back home. 'Cause I don't mind being lonesome, but I don't like being alone. Well, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long, Lord, Lord. Hey, this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. There's another way, yes, took my woman and gone. this road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. There's another bay, yes, took my woman and gone. Yodelay-oh, yodelay-ah, yodelay. All right, thank you. Thanks very much. It's a Bill Monroe tune from 1942.
One thing, probably got a lot of guitar players, I assume. We usually do, but when in this kind of setting, I play a lot of bass runs, and because we perform this way a lot, whenever we play with a bass player, I do too much. So I really do. I have to remember. Oh yeah, there's another guy playing bass, not me. So as far as arrangement goes, it's a lot of freedom to have a duet where you can do that, and you're not stepping all over the bass player. There was a bass player that I used to play in a band with, and he liked to play a lot of stuff, you know. And so the agreement we worked out was that he would play the slow lines, and I would play the quick lines. Right, that's just a little truce we kind of made. Of course, he was always stepping on my feet, and I never stepped on his, but never, nope. Yeah, so as far as that kind of tune, you know, a straight ahead bluegrass tune, Bill Monroe. But even in any kind of band, that I don't know if I would play quite that much. But anyway, who's to stop me? So far, nobody's stopped me, so I do it.
I invite it.
Yeah, thank you. You're very kind.
All right, what were we going to play?
Let's do your Cranes tune.
Cranes.
Yeah.
Here's a brand new tune that we've only played a few times, and because we need to practice it, we've been driving all day. It's one I wrote. We live out in the Rio Grande Flyway in New Mexico. My family lives there, and we have the great big sandhill cranes. Do you guys get those here? They're like this tall. They walk around like this. You know, and they were up near the interstate one day when I was driving home from Santa Fe, and I was going, get away, trucks are coming. But anyway, I thought they needed a tune, so this is one called Cranes in the Field. And this afternoon it's going to go exactly like this. Thanks very much. Cranes in the Fields. Any questions? What was the crane's name?
Bill.
Bill. Bill Crane.
So yeah, I got a question to get it started.
Yes, Lord.
Yes. Whoa.
Your voice.
So I know, Tim, you just talked about adding the bass lines in there, but as far as soloing, Tim as a guitar player, what register, what are you going for when you have a mandolin, something much, not softer, but sonically so different than your range? So when you were doing that solo, I know you stayed in the lower register. Was that a conscious effort, or when you do decide to go to a higher register, Steve, how do you handle that? If you want to offer some insight to, because Emily and I are always working around each other in our registers in the 7-string duo situation, but with such a contrast between those two, what are your philosophies on that?
Well, the thing is, if you're starting off with guitar rhythm and the mandolin has been playing, the most obvious thing would be that the bass drops out if I go anywhere really at all, if I get off the bass at all. So if I were to start up here, I would at least try to get that bass note in there, but it's just going to be, you're going to notice it even more so than just the fact that it's maybe in his register or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The bass is going to go away, and so I try to sneak in and at least get a few of those notes in right off the bat and try to keep the chords in there to some extent. As a flat picker, people ask the difference in the finger pickers and flat pickers. Finger pickers make more money. That's the biggest difference in the styles. So I'm trying to keep that going as a flat picker and a little bit of the chord, which I don't feel like I did all that great a job on. But and at least right off the bat, don't let it go away too soon. And so that after I've sort of established, hey, all right, a guitar player's playing now. We get it. We can hear you. And it's like maybe then I'll try to venture up the neck and not stay there very much in this situation, because on a tune like that at least. And then and then I'm trying to sneak. I'm doing things that I wouldn't be able to do necessarily with a bass player either. Like I like to do a lot of drones. Just droning that D the whole time. If you had a bass player that's following the chords, I couldn't get away with that, or it would render it a moot point. So as far as arranging goes, I like to sneak in that way, kind of the way we did it, and then as it builds, then I'll go to more of a sort of a typical guitar thing. But yeah, to me, it's just a matter, you got to be conscious of the bass falling out. I mean, more so than trying to worry about whether I'm in his range, although I sort of do, worry about that a little too. But
Right. So you mean that if I got a finger picker, I could make more money? Is that what you're saying?
he would, or she would make more money.
What about me? I mean,
yeah. You would probably be more successful if you got away from me, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Financially, right? It was such an open question. So yeah, I try to get away. I try to get out of the range. Now, of course, this range here is his range up top, but still, I try to. So if he's gonna, when he starts moving up top, I don't like to be playing my like bluegrass chop chords way up here. It's my highest note. My lowest note is here. So I like to get down and give him a little bit more of the fundamental, kind of a root fifth type sound. So that other thing I started right off the root, just following the bass line down. I go to a single line. Then I go to the bottom of the chord and invert it, but because I want to give him as much low tone to give him a little bit more support as you can from a mandolin. And as far as vocals go, I really try to get out of the way of vocalists. Do we have some mandolin players out there? How many mandolin players we got out there? We've got 2 dulcimer mandolins. Okay, so I try to get out of the way of the vocals. So you can bet your house. Most styles of music, you can bet your house. They wouldn't give you these odds in Vegas, but the melody is going to be on the root, the third, or the fifth of the chord, whatever they happen to be, major, minor. You can bet. So I want to get off of that note when I'm comping, when the vocalist is singing. So if someone's singing, oh, da, 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 I want to get off that note. I'm going to invert the chord. Da, 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 da. Give them some room. Da, 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 da. That way, I'm not crowding their space and getting around the center of their melody thing. So I try to make a lot of my chord choices like that. A really great person who does that is Sierra Hull on mandolin. You can watch her playing when someone else is singing. She's getting off that note. She's getting off that primary melody note because it gives that vocalist more space. Conversely, banjos. How many banjo players we got out there? Any? Okay, we only got 2 banjo players in the room. They're both standing up here. I try to, banjos oftentimes will kind of eat up the room a little bit if they keep rolling through someone else's solo, especially guitar because they're in the same range. The fourth, third, and second string are same as fourth, third, and second string of a banjo. With the mandolin, the third string, same as the fiddle or the mandolin. So when they sit there and start eating up that note, it makes me have to go someplace else to feel like I've got some space. They're like, give me some space in here, kind of thing. So that's kind of my first main choices. And sometimes I'll just play and not give you any chord at all and just give you time. Or whatever it needs to be. So that's kind of my basic approach, and then see where it needs to go.
One more thing. A tune like that, in the bluegrass world, and even in country, a lot of times we will teach you to play, you're alternating bass, just like a bass player. Well, a tune like that, you're trying to avoid that, right? I mean, it's not a traditional bluegrass tune per se, and so what I'm trying to do is just really make those bass notes last a long time. Ding, 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 even when it's really letting you hear the downbeat as opposed to, So, you can obviously hear it when I do it that way, but that is an option. If we were to play that tune in a bluegrass jam, the bass player would tend to want to do that, and we'd kind of have to say, well, that's not the feel of it or whatever. And so it's a completely different feel. It's kind of like in Nashville, they always try to hide the fact that something's a waltz, right? So they won't play. They'll go. They'll emphasize that downbeat like that. So that's a lot of what we do to create a different kind of texture too this way. And you could be playing with a bass player that does the same thing, but it's just a different way of arranging as far as arrangement.
And a lot of that has to do with the width of your beat too, So you could play, I'm sure. I know we got percussionists in here. Yeah. Great. And I know we have guitar players in here of all styles. Yes. Good. Your subdivision really determines the width of your beat, and whether it's front or back, whether you're at the back of the beat or whether you're in front of the beat, that's one thing. But the speed in which you do your subdivision will determine the width of the beat. So you could do a real narrow beat. This is a tune like he just played that. So it has a big wide footprint, a great big wide beat. I'm trying to do the two. And so we're trying to get. We don't want to. Little narrow beat sounds fine, but it's narrow. It needs to eat some lunch, So you can really change the image of a song. It can be way up on the front or way in the back, but the width of your beat and that subdivision, your right hand thing. Drummers are really important too, but guitar players can really dictate it in a way, the way they play their subdivisions, whether you play an acoustic or electric guitar. So it's an interesting thing to experiment with. Listen to different groups and see how they play, and it's really a cool thing. Like Led Zeppelin, big old wide beat, even when they're playing fast. Not ZZ Top. Leonard Skinner, kind of a little bit more of a narrow beat that kind of projects a little differently. So it's a fun thing to go fish with and try some ideas. Okay. Questions? Yes. She's got a question.
Okay, hello. I wanted to ask, what pickup do you use for your mandolin?
I'm using a K&K stereo pickup on this, or left. What's got two things there. They're mounted right back in here behind the feet of the bridge, which is a solid-footed bridge, but they're mounted back here. Then I'm running it out with a Grace Felix and box. That's a stereo box. So I've got two channels on this box, and I can use just straight plug-in, or I can use one of the channels. I've got 48-volt phantom power in this box too, so I can run a microphone off of here too. And I do honestly prefer the mic sound, as we were talking with Matt earlier. But the convenience of this and the consistency of this make it real easy. And so with the Duo, we could just set up and roll, and just go real easy. So I've really gotten to it where I'm really enjoying this box. And I have two instruments plugged into it because I got two things: a foot switch and I got a volume boost and everything. So that's what I'm using. I mean, it's a pretty. I could do more work on it, get it dialed in a little bit more, but we just got out of the car.
Yeah, well, I love that new tune. It sounds
Thanks.
so storytelling, even without words, so I love it.
So you just think this when you hear that tune.
I really will.
They're big red eyes, and They got eyes look like they've been on a hangover, but that's just the way they look all the time. Okay, Mo, questions.
I have a question about your DI box.
Okay,
Do you have different settings for the mandolin versus the octave mandolin?
I do. I do have a different EQ set up on between the two of them. They're reasonably close. I just don't want to get up here on the highs, and I could probably drop a few more highs off of this. In fact, I'll do it. Let's see what happens. Look at this. Look at this. I'm not even playing notes in that range, but it might do something with the overtones. Suddenly, it's really easy with a fiddle or a mandolin to cause people to have ear bleed situations. So we don't really want to do that. So I made a little change. Let's see. So I chopped my top off a little bit. I kind of like it better. The sound here is so good, anything that doesn't sound good that you're giving them is not going to sound good. So you got to give them good sound, and they'll make it sound beautiful because they just are really good here about that. So that's not bad, you know. I went in and took about some everything was below zero anyway, but I dropped it even more. But then, so does it sound a little bit more like a mandolin now? Less like a toy. Okay, so good thing I made a little tweak there, guys. Yeah. So the Grace Felix, yeah, they're really cool. Okay. What do you want? Same. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
Long as, or listen, are you taking career suggestions? Plumbing. That happened to me once. I was decades ago. I was getting where I was just been playing full time, and suddenly I just would just get like this. Well, I was drinking too much coffee and things like that, and I was get to a gig. I could play rhythm. I could sing fine. I'd go to play, and it was like somebody had me by the hand, and so I begged my teacher to finally come out. He drove a long way to come see us play. He comes up to the album table back when we had albums, and he comes up to the album table and says, "Hey man, I like the sound of your band. See you at your lesson Monday night. Don't bring your mandolin." I'm thinking, oh man, he's going to suggest another career, and turns out he put me into a yoga program, which changed my life, and I still do it. It's really been a good thing. So there you go.
Do this dream. That's a different.
Okay, here's a different animal. It's another tune I wrote, and originally done as an old time thing, but we kind of open it up and let it float just a little bit in the front, and then we get after it some more. It's one called This Dream. Sometimes when I am near you, there's so much that I adore. Sweetness of your affection could drive me forevermore. So if you're gonna leave me now. Never had a chance anyhow. Sometimes when I am near you, there's so much that I adore. Blind as I was to your ways, I could not resist your charms. Your words, your touch, your breath over me. So helpless was I in your arms. So if you're gonna leave me now. Never had a chance anyhow. Blind as I was to your ways, I could not resist your charms. I thought I was your only. This dream I'm living in. So if you're gonna leave, leave me now. Never had a chance anyhow. I know you're going somewhere. I don't know where or when. Next time I see you coming, I'll not let you in my door. Plead as you may, my darling, your words I'll hear no more. If you're gonna leave, leave me now. You never had a chance anyhow. Plead as you may, my darling, I'll not let you in my door. I'll not let you in. Thanks. This dream.
Good team. Steve Smith. He wouldn't say it over on the microphone, but Steve likes it when you clap for him. Steve Smith. Go ahead. No, yeah. No, he's not going to tell you that.
That's right.
He really likes it.
Right over here is Senor Tim May. Right here.
I do like it too.
He likes it too. No doubt, he just keeps it to himself. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So I am not I don't play bluegrass. I'm a rock player.
Okay.
So I am unfamiliar with instruments such as mandolin and banjo.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so I was curious, what was it like learning those instruments as opposed to like guitar or bass? Is there like a huge difference in technique?
Yeah. Well, kind of starting at zero. I think that whatever you start working with, and whatever style, it's one of those you get out of it what you put into it thing. I mean, you've heard that before. But I started off playing rhythm guitar, and secretly I was doing heavy doses of Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page, and I figured I'd get my dad to show me some basics on guitar, and then I'd go off and be playing that stuff. So I learned a whole bunch of that stuff as a kid. But different types of grooves, different sort of attitude, different sort of everything from technique and textures to just feel of things and volume of things. With the instruments are a different kind of thing. Although we're playing plugged in because we like being a little bit louder. It's a little easy to have consistent sound traveling. So that's why we do that. I just think that it's a different lifestyle too. I guess I suppose sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? Sex, drugs, and bluegrass. I mean, what's the difference, right? No, it's but we've played all sorts of stuff. We dive into a little jazz. We do, but I'm not a rock player, though. I've worked with a lot of really cool rock musicians at recording sessions. I wouldn't walk out and say Steve Smith, rock player, but because it's not a language I speak. So but they are definitely languages of their own. Really, in the end, is what I would say. One thing I could really answer is that, I guess, that they are their own language, and that you get out of them what you put into them. I think, that's what's the hardest instrument to play, the one you're playing. That's best I can say.
Well, there's a friend of mine in college that was a great heavy metal guitar player, which, that's kind of a shredding thing. But he moved to mandolin. He got inspired by bluegrass and was able to pick up mandolin really fast. Like I say, the metal thing is, it's kind of one of those virtuoso things anyway. But I think that your technique kind of can, at least with your right hand and even some left hand stuff kind of translates to everything. if you ever play a mandolin or a violin, they're very logical, and it's kind of frustrating to go back to the guitar and say, who invented this thing after you play a mandolin, you know. The guitar is so messed up, sometimes I think I should go around the country and tell people to not play it, right? But we love it so much, and we got so much invested in it that we keep doing it. But they are very logical. They're tuned in fifths, and that kind of thing makes a big difference when it comes to studying it. But I think the technique is, right hand stuff, all that, a little bit different, trying to get a sound out of an acoustic instrument, but it's all really related,
There's a great bluegrass guitarist named Jake Workman. He plays with Ricky Skaggs, and he grew up as a speed metal player, and now he's a speed bluegrass player. It's pretty amazing. It's like, it's just amazing. And every note's crystal clear, perfect, Every note has the perfect envelope on it, it's pretty amazing. I don't know if that answers your questions or not, but it's just, it's just a different, it's a different style that you dive into. I love nothing more than when I'm driving in the car, when I'm by myself, not with others, and LaGrange comes on. I just turn it up to about 9 and just want to drive 100 miles an hour. But I like to drive 100 miles an hour with Beethoven's Sonata Number 8 in C minor too. Just saying. Okay, I like to drive 100. Yeah.
I actually have a question too. Tim, you've got one of the more relaxed right hands I've seen amongst flat pickers, especially that I've personally known. What are some of your tips, tricks to not getting tight? What type of picker you're using? What types of strings? What gauge of strings? And does that vary between if you're doing a duo or you're doing a bluegrass group, like something you would get during Camp Bluegrass here, right? So if you could just take a second to what's your insight to staying so relaxed and you're picking your picks and your pick angle and stuff.
I'm not as relaxed as I look like I am first. Let me say that. My first rule is don't be a hero, right? So a lot of the bluegrass folks will tell you have to play medium gauge strings or heavy strings. That's just, I threw that out early on. And you listen to guys like Tony Rice. I know not all of your bluegrass players, but Tony Rice is one of those guys who kind of crossed over as one of the great acoustic flat pickers that are he's our hero. So he played a really light action. You played his guitar, didn't you? I mean, it was very low, and so this idea that you got to be a he-man or he-woman or she-woman, whatever it is, it's just not true. And so if you want to pound out rhythm for bluegrass and that's kind of all you do, I would say yes, get the medium strings and do that. But if you're trying to play with any kind of finesse, these things are hard to play. If any of you ever tried it, I mean, like Steve said, it's all hard, but acoustic guitar is very physical. It's a very physical thing. So I think I would be more relaxed if we try to teach people to play what we call a floating style, where your hand is not touching the top. I plant my finger because I learned banjo first, and that stays in this room. But I was a banjo player first. You plant your pinky on the head. I think if I didn't do that, I actually would be more relaxed. But I really have a hard time playing more than one solo, like 2 solos back to back. I do kind of fatigue. What I try to do is just whenever I'm playing, anytime I can straighten my arm out, I could just do a strum like that, and that will take care of any kind of tension that I have in my arm. It's kind of crazy. I could be playing, whatever. Just do a little strum like that. That was terrible, by the way, and I recognize that. But, those kind of little things can do that. Most of it, you hear guys like Brian Sutton, a great flat picker, talk about, to him it is all about relaxation. And so I know it's hard not to be nervous, but if you can just literally be as relaxed as you can possibly be. I don't use frets. I don't wear out frets at all. I'll have frets for 20 years, never wear them out. And so that tells me, that's not, a lot of people, great players do wear out frets, but that tells me I'm not trying to play real loud and hard. So, if you're going to play loud, you're just not going to be relaxed, in my opinion. So you just have to balance all that. But I don't know if that answered any of that or not. But yeah.
I was going to ask how you guys got into mandolin and guitar as well, and how you guys met.
I was a banjo player, but I went through a 12-step program, and I actually heard a guy named Tom Espinola play mandolin, and it really, his playing I'm still taken by his playing, and I was a teenager, I said, I'm going to do that, and that's what I did. I just pretty much quit everything else and started doing that, and I'm still trying to do that, but I'm here doing this. And Tim and I actually met right here at this college one year during Camp Bluegrass, which is a great, big, cool thing. And we met, and I don't know, we met like at staff meeting or something like that, and then we've been kind of hanging out ever since.
The first song we ever played together was the song we just played. It just happened to. That's kind of weird, but I just thought of that. But yeah.
Wow.
I've started on banjo, and it's amazing how many of us bluegrass guys started on banjo. So Earl Scruggs is just a huge. That's who most of us heard, and we kind of went crazy. And then I heard Tony Rice, who I mentioned, guys like Dan Curry, and just thought that was one of the greatest sounds I ever heard. So bluegrass is it is a segue instrument into other.
It's a gateway instrument.
It's a gateway instrument. That's what it's trying
Gateway
to do.
style.
It is.
I listened to this guy Thomas Manola, and then I started doing heavy doses of a guy named David Grisman, who just turned 80 this week. And Grisman was kind of on the 1 foot in jazz, 1 foot in sort of he had 3 feet, 1 foot in jazz, 1 foot in sort of like a chamber thing, another foot in bluegrass. And so, Tony Rice was in that band, Daryl Anger on fiddle, violin, Bill Amandic. It was a really great group, and Todd Phillips. And I did that long before I really started paying attention to Bill Monroe, who's, you gotta, it's kind of like if you're a blues player, at some point you got to go back and, you got to go back and get a handful of Robert Johnson or something like that. You got to go back to your roots and get it. And then I went back to that and sort of, kind of combined it all and just sort of feel like when I play, unless I'm playing with people who we call like a bluegrass Nazi, I'm just going to play what I feel like playing, which would be a combination of all those things, if that makes any sort of sense.
I was just curious what kind of guitar you're playing.
This is a Preston Thompson guitar. He was a builder out in Sisters, Oregon. Some of the bluegrass greats like Peter Rowan and, well, these days Molly Tuttle and Billy Strings tend to play these guitars, but I played them before they did.
That's right.
Anyway, Preston was a great builder. Peter Rowan was the guy that he built a guitar for years ago, and he started building again, but he passed away a few years ago. But the company's still building out in Sisters, and they do great work. So yeah, and it's a pretty big deal for them to have Billy and Molly playing their instruments for sure.
Yeah. You just made a sale right then, Tim.
That's right. Yeah.
Hello, what kind of picks do y'all play?
I use Frank Sullivan tone slab picks these days. I've used tortoiseshell for over 40 years and still use it, and because nothing really sounds like it. But the thing about these tone slab picks, toneslabs.com, is that they're always consistent. I haven't had one that didn't sound exactly like the one I just used, so that's why I stuck with them. And Tim uses the famous one.
Yeah, this is a 17-cent Dunlop 1.14. I do like the tone slabs too. I'm thinking about transitioning to those, but the main thing, I think even if you're an electric player, you don't want a pick that flexes too much. I mean, that's one of the most important things. When you pick the string, you don't want the pick flexing and kind of staying. You want it to move to the next string. The only style of music where you would usually use a thinner pick would be Irish music, where they like that real kind of shimmering, kind of high-end sound. Other than that, picks do make a difference, but it's mainly the thickness. Most people in our world kind of use from 1 millimeter thicker, something like that.
I'm using a 1.3. I find that a heavier pick, I don't have to have nearly as much grip on it. So if I have the grip like I'm using, now if I squeeze it tight, it gets real hard edge and stuff. Oh, you didn't really hear that, did you? With the sound change, that's a tight grip. A heavier pick, it's just a little bit more of a one-to-one thing for me. I don't have to work so hard holding it. A light pick, I've really got to hold on to it because I'm afraid it's going to fly out,
Anybody else?
We got more questions. Here we go.
I was going to ask you, Tim, do you have tips on controlling dynamics on acoustics? Because
Yeah, a lot of the trouble that we run into on acoustic is this raking idea, where you're playing a bass note and going right. It doesn't take long for your fans to get tired of hearing that. So you want that real light thing, and so as far as the way you dynamically play and do that, Norman Blake referred to it as shaking hand off your water when you strum. It's like the same motion. So the raking thing is just, we tend to be afraid to come off the guitar because we're afraid we'll never get back or something, you know. So there's that raking thing we don't want. So with the shaking the water off the hand, see on my hand, that kind of looseness like that. But you also can play, I don't want to get too tied up in technique here, I know it's boring for a lot of you, but I'll just say one more thing. If you play an acoustic instrument and you play, for example, string 3 here, my pick would be resting on string 2. We call that a rest stroke. The classical folks do it the same way, where they pull up on a string and their finger will be landing on the one above it. That rest stroke is more important than anything because that gets you your sound, as opposed to there's an upstroke, downstroke, there's a rest stroke. That's the tone we want. So even when you're playing dynamically really light, they're all rest strokes. So ironically, if you get that technique down, then your dynamics can be just literally volume, and you're not getting a different sound. You're always getting the best sound you can. That's the quick 1-minute version of it. That's not very much, but yes.
Nice. I do lots of different things for different colors. I do different things with my pick. I change my grip. And whatever I'm doing, I really try to be really mindful of my breath and breath control, even in dynamics, when I'm not even singing. Because it's all, I think everything we do is about the breath. And so if I'm after a note, that's what, you couldn't hear me, but I was exhaling while we did that. I could do all sorts of things, in and out, pick grip difference, pick angle, my patented studio fade. I never changed my stroke power at all. I just rolled off of one string and then slowly pulled my hand back. You know, and we're talking small amounts. Those are ways I like to control dynamics. We choose in arrangements to use dynamics too. I mean, the last couple of tunes we did, we used some nice dynamic range things, and we like to do that because we like to do it mainly, but it also gives the listener something. Oh, they're not driving nails again. That's nice, you know. So that's a big part of things.
Well, you know, the banjo player that somebody said, you need to play with more dynamics. And he said, well, I'm playing as loud as I can. Right? We're banjo players, so we can make fun of them. We are them.
Right. I call my sponsor, I'm feeling the need to pick up a banjo. Step away from the banjo.
All right, what else?
Mr. Tim, I got a question for you. And also this goes for you too, Steve. When you're about to, like,
Gotcha.
take a solo, what are you thinking? What is your thought process? And, like, same thing for you, Steve. When he's comping or when you're comping, Steve, what are you thinking of during your solo? And just, like, what is your thought process before entering that solo, especially on the piece y'all just played?
Go ahead. Yeah. Say a little prayer, hope for the best.
Like the tune we just played. What was that we just played? What did we play? This Dream. We did This Dream. So, you know, the tune's cruising along. I like to start off with something a little bit long just to give it a break. Sometimes I get up on the ninth. I want some color, but I don't feel like I got to start off with a bunch of notes, which gives me room later to use a bunch more notes. That's kind of what I like to do. But that tune to me is not a. I played it once and somebody was playing. No, this is not the same song as. With that big beat, so I don't want to rush the door, so to speak. You know, with what I play, and I'm improvising when I play it. But you know, sometimes I'll say, well, I'm going to I'll choose a note that I'm going to start with, and then sort of go with it. I'm going to hang around. I try to use the chord shape. I try to, like with mandolin or guitar. It's all true with whatever you play, I suppose. But you know, I think about chords, and I think about every chord shape is also a melodic shape, whether you want to think about it from an arpeggio standpoint or a scale standpoint. So I'll take a chord tone or something off of a chord tone and then work there and then sort of try to develop something. Sometimes I just sort of sing something in my head as I play. Other times I sing things out loud. Other times I'm just hanging myself out there and hoping that I can stay on the track, you know. I sometimes I'll have a strategy of, okay, I'm going to stick with this concept through these 4 bars or whatever, but or I'm going to try to get to the B part using this. But I generally don't other than that, or I'll say, okay, I'm going to start off and I'm going to really try to use maybe fewer notes and more longer syncopations where I'll, you try to do some kind of syncopated thing and use less notes, and it's all because of kind of whatever kind of color I might want to try to get. Does it need break? I love one of the things I love about jazz music is just everybody doesn't feel like, again, they don't have to feel like they have to rush the door. They're like, something will finish up and they'll, okay, I'll play, kind of thing. Where bluegrass is just like, no, quick, get up here. It's ants on coffee. So I like to give things a little space sometimes, and I do that either with note choice or rhythm choice or just kind of, I like to wait. I love watching people in a bluegrass band panic. He's not playing. Yeah, I'll play in a minute. But that's my shtick, if that makes sense.
Well, it really is a lot like language, right? So, like, it's almost like, what am I going to say when I get to the party? Well, you usually don't say whatever you thought you were going to say, And then, of course, when you leave the party, you say, oh, man, I could have said this. That would have been cool if I'd have said that, and you forgot to say it, or, So, usually, if I try to plan anything, I end up forgetting about it or whatever. But do you play bluegrass? Okay. Well, this would apply to really anything we do. The guy, Tony Rice, I was talking about, he set a great precedent for us, which there's a thing called the G run. That is a big part of bluegrass, happens all the time. He would end almost every rhythm section, vocal section, or whatever with a G run. Well, now he's ready to solo, right? So he's not trying to go from rhythm. He's not trying to go right. He's got to stop right there where he does it, and he would end almost every solo with a G run. He's one of the greatest players in the world, and you might say that's a formula. Well, he didn't always do that, and I don't know whether he thought about it that much, but. That's a great thing to do if you're playing rhythm. Don't try to be, try to get some kind of stop going, even if it's a bass note.
That creates space.
And then I'm stopping there.
Yeah, create space.
Yeah, and you have the space itself. And so, like the tune that we were just doing, I'm mainly just going to start off simple. I mean, that's the main thing as far as what I want to say. Not only because it's the musical thing to do to try to build the solo. But it's just getting me easing into it, that kind of thing. But as far as what we're thinking, it really, and we could talk about improvisation all day, but it really is just like speaking, and it's really free form, and one thing leads to another as you begin to speak, and you don't necessarily have it planned out, although you have an idea of what you're going to say, and so that's kind of how it works. And so you're just learning the vocabulary, which is what you guys are doing here. You're just learning the language. So yeah.
Okay.
Don't get one more song, but one more question? 0 question. Well, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and play one more, and then I'm sure right after you're done, they're going to flood you with questions off stage. So,
Okay.
yeah. But don't forget, tonight, 7 o'clock, these guys will be playing, and then right after Country Jukebox, we'll be making our first installment at SPC of our music. So come back at 7, guys.
Okay, and now for something completely different. Well, let's see. I don't want to do anything about doing tonight. Yeah. Okay. What do you think? Do Darling Palomar. Okay, here's a we're going to take a Carter Family tune and give it a little bit more of a feel in the way maybe that Bob Wills may have played it, and put a little bit more of a swing change kind of feel to a tune from the 30s by the Carter Family. And we're going to start it off. Is this a? Where's that lick from? Is that just us? I think so. Okay. I was going to say it's somebody's lick, but it's our lick. It's ours. We're somebody, I guess. 1, 2. Many an hour as you lay sleeping, dreaming of your amber skies, was a poor boy broken-hearted, listening to the winds that sigh. My little darling, oh, how I love you, how I love, no one could tell. In your heart, you love another, little darling pal of mine. Many an hour with you I ramble, the happiest days with you I've spent. And I thought I had your heart forever, till I found that it was lent. My little darling, whoa, how I love you, how I love, no one could tell. In your heart, you love another, little darling pal of mine. There are just three things that I wish for. That's my casket, shroud, and grave. And when I die, don't weep for me, love. Just kiss those lips that you've betrayed. My little darling, whoa, how I love you, how I love, no one could tell. In your heart, you love another, little darling pal of mine. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. Don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight, this very place. So come on out. We got a lot of music lined up. And they'll be around the side if you got any more questions you didn't want to ask earlier. But thank you guys.